there, I'm Niels with UFree, and let me be the first to welcome you to the UFree family. In this video, we're going to be going over all the steps to assemble your brand new bike. Let's get started.
Once you've removed the straps from your box, you'll need to remove the black clips. To remove them, pinch the inside tabs of the clips to unlock them. Then you can pull them from the box. Assembly can definitely be done by yourself, but having a friend will make maneuvering the bike easier. Grab the bike by the front stem and the rear rack and carefully lift it out of the box. Be sure to grab the small accessory box as well. Let's take stock of what comes in the accessory box. It should contain your manual and quick start guide, an Allen wrench multi-tool, a long stem 5mm Allen wrench, a canvas bag you can use to store your tools, a set of pedals, your bike's charger, your headlight, and a small bag containing extra reflectors. The small plastic stem plug is in there too. Now that your bike has been removed from the box, grab a pair of clippers or snips and carefully begin removing the outer foam by cutting the zip ties. Always be sure to double check what you're cutting. The last thing you want is to cut something you didn't mean to. Be especially careful when removing the front wheel. Try to hold it while cutting the zip ties. Once you have all the packaging removed, be sure to hold on to it during the duration of your 14-day trial period. Let's start with your handlebars. Take your multi-tool and use it to remove the plate from the front of your stem. Once that's been removed, take your handlebars and put them into position. Then return the plate to its original position and put the Allen bolts back in place. Don't tighten them just yet. Rotate the handlebars into the correct position and use your 4mm Allen wrench to tighten the bolts. Make sure to tighten them in an X pattern so that the top and bottom of the plate is evenly spaced. Let's attach the front wheel. Take the front wheel skewer and remove the black nut and one of the springs. Take note of the orientation of the springs. When the skewer is inserted into the wheel, the narrow end of both springs should point inwards. Slide the skewer through the axle. Make sure that the handle is on the opposite side of the brake rotor. Place the spring on the skewer and screw the nut back on. Before you slide the front wheel into place, remove the two spacers located at the end of the fork. There's a small spacer between the jaws of the brake caliper and a large one in between the arms of the fork. Please note, don't pull on the left brake handle after you've removed the spacer from the brake caliper. This can clamp the jaws together and they're very difficult to pull apart. Lift the front of the bike into the air and use your free hand to move the wheel into position. Slide the brake rotor between the jaws of the caliper and rest the fork on top of the axle. To clamp the front wheel into place, slowly tighten the nut at the end of the skewer while lifting the lever up and down. Continue tightening until it takes a good amount of force to lift the lever into place. Make sure that it's tight enough to be tough to close, but not so tight that you can't close it all the way. Now that the front wheel is attached, kick out the kickstand so that the bike will stand up on its own. Next, we'll attach the front light to the handlebars. Take the light cable and carefully plug it in. In order to not damage the delicate pins, make sure to line up the two arrows located on the outer housing of the cable. That will help you to line them up before plugging the two ends together. Next, select your 3mm Allen wrench and remove the bolt from the clamp of the front light. Take the clamp and carefully put it around the handlebars. Use your 3mm Allen wrench to tighten it back up. Next is the front fender. Use your 5mm Allen wrench to remove the single bolt from the arch of the front fork, and your 4mm Allen wrench to remove the two bolts from the fender arms. Slide the front fender into place beneath the arch of the fork and screw the 5mm bolt back in. Don't tighten it all the way just yet. Then move the fender stays into position and use the 4mm bolts to hold them in place. You can tighten these completely. Next, lift the fender off of the wheel and tighten the 5mm bolt to hold it in place. Make sure to lift it as high as you can to keep it from rubbing against the tire. Now let's make sure that the front wheel is aligned with the stem and handlebars. Use your 4mm Allen wrench to loosen the two bolts on either side of the stem base. These can be a bit tight, so take your time loosening them. Stand in front of the bike and put the front wheel between your legs. Twist the handlebars until the stem and front wheel make a straight line. Next, take your long 5mm Allen wrench and tighten the bolt found inside the hole on top of the stem. Please note, don't tighten this all the way. This bolt is used to pull the fork into the head tube, and over-tightening it will make it more difficult to steer. You should feel some resistance, but not much. Once that's been dialed in, tighten up the 2 bolts on either side of the stem base. That will keep the stem in alignment. Finally, take the plastic stem plug found in the bag full of reflectors and insert it into the hole on top of your stem. Let's attach your petals. For this step, there is something really important to note. Each petal is meant for a specific side. The way to tell which petal goes on which side is to look at the end of the spindle. There will be a small L stamped into the left pedal and a small R stamped into the right pedal. Use these to make sure you put them in the right location. Another thing to note is that the right pedal turns clockwise and the left pedal turns counterclockwise. An easy way to remember is to turn the pedals towards the front wheel. Carefully screw each pedal in using just your fingers. Once you're sure that they're threaded correctly, you can either use your Allen wrench to tighten them from the inside, or take a 15mm crescent wrench to tighten them from the outside. Your bike is almost ready to ride. Time for some minor adjustments. Let's start with your seat. The first thing you'll notice is 2 bolts on either side of your seat post. These are used to adjust both the position and angle of your seat. All you need to do is loosen both bolts, make the necessary adjustments, and then tighten them back up. Next, if you look underneath the seat post, you'll see a hole that matches a 5mm Allen wrench. This is used to make your ride more firm or soft. If you spin this adjuster clockwise, it will decrease the amount of compression, whereas spinning it counterclockwise will increase the amount of compression. So clockwise to make it more firm, and counterclockwise to make it more soft. Finally, let's make sure that your seat is at the correct height. A good baseline is to raise your seat to hip height and then sit on the bike. It might feel a bit high, but leave it there for the time being. The final step in assembly is to make sure your arm position is comfortable. The stem of your bike can be raised or lowered in order to achieve a more relaxed or aggressive riding stance. Use the long 5mm Allen wrench to loosen the bolt on the right-hand side of the stem. Please note, the bolt on the left-hand side will not loosen, so only loosen the bolt on the right-hand side. With the bolt loosened, lift the stem and use the angle indicator on the side to raise it to approximately 30 to 40 degrees and then tighten the bolt once again. With the stem raised at that height, you'll most likely need to readjust your handlebars. Loosen the 4 bolts on the front of the stem and rotate the handlebars to the correct position. Remember to tighten the stem plate bolts in a cross pattern so that it's clamped evenly. Give the handlebars a twist to make sure they don't move. If they do, continue tightening the 4 bolts.
Now you're ready to ride. If you have any other questions or concerns, never hesitate to reach out to us by phone or sending an email to support@ufree.com. Thank you once again for joining our family, and I hope you enjoy the time ahead.